Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
Sir, I would like to start off asking you that what is the biggest challenge that India faces now? Is it the challenge of the vertical imbalance or the horizontal imbalance?
Both in some senses. Vertical imbalance in terms of this. Vertical imbalance not so much into quantitative terms. In quantitative terms, the relative shares remain. But I think the qualitatively, in the sense that the fiscal space available for the states is constrained. For the way the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission were implemented, that is one concern for the states. Second is horizontal also. Horizontal in the context of the 15th Finance Commission recommendation. I think main issue is the better off states fear that there will be too much weightage given for population and to outdated population. So these are the concerns. I think it's more than quantitative. Quantitative, yes, to some extent, but more than quantitative, it's the qualitative relationship between the center and states that's engaging the attention.
Sir, but the 14th Finance Commission made the highest devolution so far to the states at 42%. What are the concerns that are stemming?
No, actually, some of the recommendations given by the 14th Finance Commission, while implementing them, some offsetting actions were taken so that the benefit of the 14th Finance Commission to the states did not accrue. They are virtually nullified. That is one problem. Second problem is the terms of reference of 15th Finance Commission are framed in such a way that to review what the 14th Finance Commission has done, which is unusual, unprecedented, and also trying to say that any money which goes from center to states should be subjected to performance. Then once you say performance, it becomes discretionary. Right. And that is asymmetrical between the union and the states.
So the 15th Finance Commission, is also facing a lot of opposition from southern states regarding the use of the 2011 census. What do you think?
On the limited issue of population, I believe that the latest appropriate population should be taken into account. When you want to assess the needs of the people, it should be the needs of the people or the number of people at the time the award is given.
Right.
So, for instance, for this Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission, the period is 2020 to 2025. So, what is expected to be the population of that period should be relevant, not 1971 or even 2011.
So, are the concerns of the southern states unfounded?
Concerns of southern states on this particular issue, they are not on a strong wicket.
So, what is the biggest challenge in front of the 15th Finance Commission?
I think the biggest challenge, there are two challenges. One is, for the first time, some chief ministers expressed concern about the terms of reference. So they have to win back the trust of the chief ministers because it is an award. It should be equally acceptable. Or even if you want to make them unhappy, you must make both union and all states equally unhappy. But you can't make somebody slightly happier and somebody unhappier. So that means you must gain the trust, which for the first time in the history of India, there is a question mark. Second is the terms of reference themselves. They are heavily loaded in favor of the center. Right. And I think while giving the recommendations, they have to decide which are heavily loaded in the center and not give weight to them. Because as I explained in my book, finance commissions have been, there are many occasions in the past where there are terms of consideration tilted to the center, but the finance commission did not necessarily follow the terms of reference.
So it's very much up to the 15th Finance Commission and how far it follows the terms of reference.
Yes, I think the 15th Finance Commission has a very special responsibility to take care of the lack of trust and B, loaded terms of reference.
And which you think they'll be able to address?
I'm hoping.
So there's also a lot of talk in the center of having more bodies like the GST Council to decide, say, on other issues like an Ayushman Bharat or health related or education related issues. Do you think these kind of federal bodies are a good thing and should be encouraged?
Actually, it is necessary, and that has been the recommendations for a long time. The Finance Commission comes once in 5 years, they make recommendations. That is only about tax sharing. With regard to the transfers from the center to states, outside the Finance Commission, there is no body, particularly after NDC. So there is a vacuum there. But GST Council is one model, but that model cannot apply mutatis, not exactly the same model, because that is relation to only to finance ministry and the tax administration, whereas the transfers relate to different ministries. But you cannot have a compartmentalized also, because there should be a coherent view of the state vis-a-vis the center. So you require an institution, something like a planning commission, but a lot more reform, taking care of the weaknesses.
Nithya Yoga is not a body that can...
Nithya Yoga, the way it turned out in its functioning, is far away from being such an institution, because it doesn't have the political clout, there is no mechanism of a coherent view. But always we must remember that Nithya Yoga as well as Planning Commission were union bodies.
Right.
It's not unlike finance, it's not a body of union plus states, it's union body, it's advisory body, it's political, because they are appointed by the Prime Minister for the tenure of the Prime Minister. But it has to convince the states that it is not a union body, it's a union plus states body, and also it should be able to have the political bargaining scope that's necessary in any federation. So there is an institutional vacuum. The limited point is, the biggest problem now is transfers outside the Finance Commission. You must fix it. GST Council is a mechanism that can be sort of a model, but not exactly the same thing.
There was a lot of hope that when a CM becomes the Prime Minister of the country, there will be greater central state cooperation and probably states will have a greater say. What is your assessment of the 5 years of the government? Have these vertical imbalances and have been addressed?
These 5 years are not over.
Right. So they're over in like the next 2 weeks.
Then after 2 months I'll give the judgment.
So it's over.
I'll tell you PV Narasimha Rao.
Right.
There is one, if you see, in the history of this country, there was only one person who became Prime Minister, who had a lot of experience as Chief Minister, who had experience in the West. That was PV Narasimha Rao. And PV Narasimha Rao, in fact, apparently from what I hear, in a cabinet meeting, when some union cabinet minister complained that the states are not doing well, he said, "Don't complain about a state. I know where the shoe pinches. I was Chief Minister." But there are two types of reaction to that. One is to do that, or the second is to say, no, but I have got experience as Chief Minister, so I know better than all Chief Ministers, so therefore I will, so it depends on the personality also.
You would not want to comment on the personality?
5 years अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ ना.
Sir, election announce हो गया sir.
तो ऐसा नहीं है, तो it's full empirical evidence चाहिए ना.
Okay. So coming to the governments now, there seems to be, with the elections getting announced, there seems to be a fight for competitive populism. A lot of state governments have announced a lot of farm loan waivers and a lot of incentives. The manifestos are full of promises. Do you think there is a need for a more comprehensive fiscal consolidation roadmap for the centre as well?
You see, basically the question is that there is a mechanism to impose a budget constraint on the state, because the centre imposes, though its moral authority is eroded.
Right.
Because if you are yourself not managing the fiscal affairs, then the state governments will be they will not have moral authority. But still, whereas as far as the central government is concerned, that certainly doesn't have such a fiscal constraint. So that's asymmetrical. And so under the circumstances, what happens is, if populist schemes are announced by a state, they will have to sacrifice expenditure somewhere else.
Right.
In the case of centre, they may not. They may print money. So there is a greater danger of populist schemes being taken up by the centre than by the states.
Right.
That's the most important thing we have to recognize. But I think people also are becoming fairly aware, and I think they will know how to make a judgment which promises will be kept, which promises are meant only for temporary.
Also on the cesses and surcharges, what can be done to effectively ensure that the whole share of cesses and surcharges doesn't surpass a particular level? Because that seems to be the recent trend nowadays by the centre, to deprive states of what they call as their rightful share.
See, there are two problems. One is the cesses and surcharges deprive the state governments of their share. That's one.
Right.
There's a second issue. The utilization of the cess is not as it should be.
Right.
And this is a matter on which the Comptroller and Auditor General has ruled.
Right.
So finally, it has to be the Parliament. Ultimately, the Parliament is supreme. So I think there should be more discussion on this subject.
But do you think the Parliament will take up something like this, like a clean energy cess was used to compensate states in case of GST losses? So, there seems to be no kind of definite intervention, at least by the Parliament so far, in terms of the misuse of the cess.
So ultimately, only the law and the Parliament can prevail now.
Right.
And especially when the budget itself is being disposed of in few minutes or few hours, there is not much discussion. The Fiscal Council has been recommended by the 14th Finance Commission, independent Fiscal Council, reporting to the Parliament. But I think Mr. FRBM Review Committee of Mr. N.K. Singh diluted it. The word independent is kept, but the Fiscal Council reports to the Minister. The problem is with the Minister.
Right.
And at least, so if you are only assisting the Minister, then you are assisting the Minister to be independent or not independent, you don't know what you are assisting. So I think the recommendation for an independent Fiscal Council, at least to put information before the budget approval, that itself has been diluted already by FRBM Review Committee.
And finally, sir, I would like to ask you, GST has come in. How do you see India's fiscal federalism moving forward?
No, as far as the GST is concerned, it's a very good institution. Yes, I think it's somewhat asymmetrical. There are benefits. During the process of implementation, there will be some problems. In the benefits, I think both benefits, center benefits, state benefit, but I believe the center benefits more than the states. And in implementation, center is having an upper hand also. So these are some problems, but overall it's better than not having it. Okay, it could have been taken a better shape, but this by itself does not solve the problem of vertical and horizontal imbalances. This only rationalizes the tax, but vertical and horizontal imbalances will have to be handled independently by Finance Commission and by some other mechanism for transfers outside Finance Commission.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us at ThePrint.